Welcome to Finding Certainty with your host and U.S. Army veteran, Patrick Laing. Over the next hour, you'll learn from Patrick and his expert guests how to attract more certainty into your business and your life. Now, here is your host, Patrick Laing.
Welcome to Finding Certainty. It's our favorite day of the week. Wednesday morning, hump day. We're halfway through, guys. And I'm very excited to have our guest on Finding Certainty today. I'm going to hear his story and some of the ways he's creating certainty both in his own life and in those he touches. Vinny, thanks for being with us. Vinny, Power Punch Pacifico.
How's it going? Thank you for having me.
Hey, my pleasure, man. Vinny's a professional wrestler. He's an entertainer. He's getting more and more involved in media. He's got an upcoming movie coming out that we're going to be talking about. Mm-hmm. And he was recently on the NASDAQ marquee, which was historic. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Got a lot of things going on, Vinny. It's very exciting.
It's been very busy, and I feel as if I never thought I would be in this position. So I'm very grateful and very blessed. A lot's been going on lately, like acting and wrestling and, like you said, media. These major podcasts I've been doing, Sports Illustrated to Pro Wrestling Illustrated to, getting on the NASDAQ billboard. So there's been a lot of really, really cool things lately that I've been able to do and been blessed to be able to do. And it just comes down to not stopping and not letting anything stop you from getting to the next level.
Well, I can resonate with that, and it's these ripple effects happen, right? This mushroom, I call it a snowball effect, where the snowball is rolling down the hill, getting bigger and bigger and picking up speed. And I always start the show out by sharing 2 reasons why I've invited this specific guest to be on with us. And we're broadcast all over the world. We're syndicated on Spotify, iHeart, Pandora, Apple, Google, Amazon, Roku TV, and the list goes on, right? But our niche is such that I'm very selective about who's on the show because I want guests who illustrate this principle of certainty in our lives, right? There's so much uncertainty out there. We started finding certainty about 3 years ago. We just recently switched over to Bold Brave TV. They reached out to me. They had done a national search. They said of all the shows we've seen, and they looked at thousands is my understanding, but they said of all the shows we've seen, we want to promote your show and take it everywhere because there is such a need for certainty. And so first Wednesday of every week, I do first Wednesday of every month, I do a monologue where I talk on the topic, and the other Wednesdays we do an interview like this one. So as I was saying, I always share 2 reasons why I've invited this specific guest. First and foremost, Vinny is a success story that is, I think it's a great example of someone, just as he was saying, who just put his head down and has worked and worked and worked to get to where he is. So he's a phenomenal example of somebody with a work ethic that is really producing extraordinary results. He also, though, at the same time, is an extraordinary networker. He's creating these connections both in multiple industries, in the wrestling world, with sponsorships, with his media appearances and entertainment. And I mean, you're a good example, in my opinion, Vinny, of somebody who's capitalizing on all opportunities. And both of these principles are key to developing greater certainty in our lives, right? That work ethic.
Yep. Oh, totally.
Just taking our blinders off, right? Opening our eyes to opportunities around us, and they do multiply. They do become they have this mushrooming effect. It's very evident in what you're doing. So again, thanks for being here. I always like to go back and have us tell us a little bit about your story. Where did you come from? I know you're from Staten Island. You grew up in New York, but tell us a little bit about who is Vinny Pacifico, and we'll get into how you got your name and how you got into what you're doing and what's been happening lately. There's a lot happening for you. We're
A
very
talented
proud of
kid
you.
from Staten Island, New York. Grew up, played some sports in school. A wrestling fan, and I said to myself one day, I was like, you know what, Dad? I want to be a wrestler. I want to start this training to become a wrestler because I played football, I played basketball, I did all these different things, but I'm like, you know what? I want to try being a wrestler. Started training at school, got better over time, started traveling, started getting bookings, started to grow into the wrestling industry and become a very talented wrestler. And that was kind of my childhood. I was 14, started wrestling, so it's kind of really all I knew growing up was just wrestling and traveling and getting opportunities and just being a professional wrestler. And I worked for some of the biggest companies in the world: Ring of Honor, New Japan. I worked for WWE, AEW, Evolve, and it's been an amazing journey. Absolutely amazing journey. Now I'm also doing movies. I'm getting into acting. I'm getting into media, mental health talks. I'm getting into all these different things because I feel like as an entertainer or as a brand, you could become anything and you could do anything. There's nothing telling you, oh, you are just a wrestler, or even you're just an actor. No, you could do everything because now you impact more and more lives. You create different streams of income. You create value, more value. So that's where certainty, like finding certainty, that's kind of where it comes from. Because now when you create yourself some value, create yourself some opportunity, create yourself a a brand that is able to create streams of income, that's your certainty in knowing you're gonna be okay, or you're gonna be able to financially okay, be financially okay, and that's something that's very important usually, because everyone has to work, everybody has to go out, make money, and do their thing. So it comes down to finding your way of becoming a brand and doing what you have to do. So that's kind of where I started wrestling, and then I started getting to acting. I started getting to all these different things, and now it's just I'm always busy, always doing something, always making my opportunities count, and that's all you could do.
Well, I think you hit on a good point, right? You we talk about taking our blinders off and opening our eyes to all the different opportunities around us and being willing to try new things, right? I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
heard somebody recently say, I never turned down a speaking opportunity. Even if there's 5 people there, I don't know who's going to be in the audience. It could open up a door that would change everything, right? And so, but I think it's more than just focusing on what's in it for us and multiple streams of income. And I think you're really good at this. It's really focusing on how can we serve others? How can we entertain others? How can we pay it forward? And that's where it really starts to come back to us tenfold. You're really good at that. I mean, you're constantly helping others. You're looking for ways to make a difference, right? You're getting your word out. You're supporting. You're mentoring others, and so forth. And that's one of the things that I really think starts opening doors for us, right? I mean,
Yep.
our friend Anthony DeGraff, Tony the Dreammaker Doty. I mean, he's the one who introduced us, and he's a
Yep.
phenomenal example of exactly that. Of he's constantly looking out for others and looking for ways to elevate and amplify their lives and their careers, and in the process, his has just absolutely exploded, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think you're
Yeah.
a good example of that, Vinny. I mean, do you agree with me?
I agree that helping others, you will never go wrong helping other people. You will never feel worse helping somebody with good intentions. And I always try to help people out. I grew up, I got bullied a lot in school, so I always try and be a good advocate for anti-bullying and be a good advocate for mental health because I know everybody has mental health. Everyone thinks, everyone has, you know, a mindset. So it's always going to be easy to get anxiety. It's easier to think negative than positive, in my opinion, right? When something happens, you think, oh no, what negative thing could come out of this? And I try and always take a step back and be like, no, why not think the opposite? Why not think positive? So that's kind of where helping others and being an ear for people who go through certain things is a beneficial thing for me. It's because like I have so many fans message me and say, Vinny, because of your story, I didn't quit. Because of uh your video you posted online, I got a new motivation. So being able to touch other lives and help people grow and help people stay motivated and stay happy and stay positive is a beautiful thing.
I couldn't agree more. I look at our own career, right? My own business. We have three different companies: a consulting firm, Certainty Management; a technology company, Certainty Global;
Mm-hmm.
Certainty Holdings is a third company. And we started with one thing. It started to grow to more. It grew into a second company, a third company. Now we're part of this social media platform you and I have talked about, Vinny. And these opportunities just start coming out of the woodwork. I found two principles. One is the one we're talking about looking for ways to serve and help and pay it forward, and to not just say I'm going to do that someday when I've made it, but do it all the way along. You're doing it
Yeah.
from the very first. You might not be able to give a lot of money because you don't have it yet, but you can give time. You can give your attention. You can just be a good listener. You can be a good example. You can mentor somebody who's younger than you or struggling. The other
Mm-hmm.
piece, though, is that I think at the same time, you're also looking for ways to not just serve, but also learn. Right? I want to go back a little bit to your story about becoming a wrestler and how you wanted to be a wrestler, because getting into the professional wrestling world is not easy. I mean,
No.
you understand it better than I do by far. You understand it better than most. I mean, I've seen movies like Fighting with My Family, right?
Mm.
The movie with Dwayne John with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and about this girl from this little town in England who wants to be a professional wrestler. I'm curious to know what you thought of that show, but I thought it did a pretty good job of illustrating how challenging it is, how much competition there is. I
Yeah.
mean, really, how you have just got to stick with it if you even have a hope of getting your foot in the door. So tell us a little bit about that experience, because I think you've done it. You're there. You're a well-known
Yeah.
wrester. You've turned heads.
Wrestling's
You've
one of the
won
most. Yeah.
contests.
Wrestling. Yeah. Wrestling is by far one of the most tough industries that I have ever even been in. Right. I've done a lot of different things, and you are in control of everything. You have no boss, except when you're booked on a show. Of course, you do what the promoter wants you to do, but you are the one who has to go out of the way to make content, to train, to go to the gym, to diet, to do podcasts, to do everything. You are in charge of your career, and every decision you make matters so much. Everything matters. Everything you eat, everything you think, everything you touch, every single thing you do matters. And it has to, or for most part, align with your goals. And that's kind of how I live my life. Where if this doesn't, if I'm going, I go to the gym, I do podcasts, I do media, I do social media posts. If something being brought my way that I think will benefit my career, I do it no matter what. Obviously with good judgment. Um, but it comes down to having to nonstop do things for your career. Like you have to always think, how will this opportunity benefit me and make me go forward? And there's no boss telling you, oh, you have to do this, this, and this. There's no blueprint. There is no one way. There's no one way. It's you have to do what you believe is best to get there. So for me, I just kind of didn't stop. Traveled, wrestled as much as I can every single week, 4 days a week, traveling from state to state to state, flying across the country, all over the world at this point, 13 different countries, non-stop working and wrestling. And then once you're done wrestling, you get backstage, you gotta do social media, gotta create content, gotta do promos, gotta do videos, gotta do content creation, editing. Then you gotta go from there and go to the gym. Then you gotta eat right. There's just so much that goes into
So
it.
much.
It's a 24/7 job. And if you're able to balance everything and work your ass off and become the best you possible, you will succeed. So that's
I
kind of where
totally.
yeah, that's where
Yeah.
my mindset was
I have
and is.
salespeople who work for us all over the country, coast to coast. We have clients in all 50 states, and I tell my resellers, my reps, there's four things to do. There's four simple steps to be successful. They're not easy. They take work, but they're simple. The first is just to get up and get out. right? If you're not
Yep.
gonna, you're never gonna make it sitting on your, on your hind end watching Wheel of Fortune eating Cheetos, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just not gonna happen. That comes back to the work ethic we were talking about before. The second, I believe, is to open your eyes, take the blinders off. There's opportunity all around, right? You can't not only quit, but you've got to be able to be aware. You've got to be able to open yourself up to opportunities, take risks, make mistakes, etc., etc. But you got to open your eyes. The second is open your ears, and that
Yep.
just means, it comes back to serving others, right? But it comes back to asking questions, getting people talking, creating relationships, and too often we're just so focused on promoting ourselves and it's what's in it for me, and I'm the most important. If we will listen to others and get people to talk, go to networking events, go to different parties or whatever the case may be, and get to know people, you're going to find connections. I'm sure you've done the same. I'd love to hear
Yep.
what maybe a connection. We talked about Tony, right? A
Mm-hmm.
connection in your life that opens those doors. It's not always what you know; it's who you know. And
Yeah.
if you're doing all the talking, if you're not out there, and you're not opening your eyes, taking the blinders, if you're doing all the talking instead of listening and asking good questions, you're never going to make those connections. The last step is you've got to open your mouth. Don't be shy,
Yep.
right? Speak up.
The power of ask. The
That's
power
right.
of ask.
You talk
And
about social
also,
media, right?
yep.
Getting the word out.
Yep. Power of social media, power of ask, and power of who you know, of course. Like I said, I have a TV series I just completed. We filmed episode 1 and 2, and we're looking to sell it and get funding and everything like that. So that's Tony. Tony has the connections in Hollywood. So it's
Yeah.
all who you know. We're almost there. We're very close. So there's a lot of really huge things in the works. I'm gonna be creating my own energy drink. It's who I know. I know people who are amazing. Untamed. The company's called Untamed. They
Uh-huh.
are they have so many connections in the manufacturing of energy drinks and supplements. So I want my own energy drink. I'm gonna go to them. So it's all who you know. Everything is who you know. So that always helps. But obviously, the most important thing is being ready when the time comes. You don't know when that call is coming. I've had times where I'm like off for a weekend, I'm chilling, and I get a phone call, Vinny, I need you here Saturday. If you're able to fly out, I'll get you a ticket and fly you out here Saturday to wrestle. So there's times that come where you don't even know what's going to happen, and you get the phone call, right? So
Yes.
it's a never ending. Be ready, stay ready, and be hungry at all times. Otherwise, that opportunity could come and you miss it. And that's kind of where it's like my mindset's like, okay, if I always stay ready and I'm always working, I'm always have my head on a swivel, I can't miss the opportunity. You know what I mean? And if you're always ready, you don't have to get ready. That's kind of where my mindset is with that.
Well, it's interesting you're starting your own energy drink because you're known as the energy drink king. I mean, you've
Yeah,
made it a
yeah.
part of your brand, and that's actually led to some pretty big sponsorships, right?
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
talk about what it's about. What we're talking about. Open those eyes, open your mouth, open your ears. And focusing intently on how do I build my brand? Who can help me? How can I help them? Creating
Yep.
those connections, right? It's going to some pretty good sponsorships for you, right? You want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, so I started this character where I'm like kind of like Popeye, where I wrestle and then I drink an energy drink and it becomes like I superpower. So how that started the character was given to me. Someone said, Vinny, you drink a lot of energy drinks. You're very energetic. Clearly, as you can tell. Vinny, start trying this. Try coming out, entrancing with a drink in your hand, drinking it, right? And then I started doing that, and then fans started like really enjoying that like character. And then there's one match where I went to the wrestling the guy. We're both down on the mat. I go to the corner and drink my energy drink, and then Hulk up and become like Superman. And that match clip went viral. 3 days later, I got an email from Bang Energy with a contract. So you never know who's watching. You never know when that contract or opportunity will come. A few months
Right.
later, Bang had their own lawsuit go on, so they had to go to their athletes. So then I got signed by G Fuel. So what I was doing with Bang was being seen elsewhere. So
Right.
now it just comes down to being the best you possible so that brands want to work with you and pay you. And that's another stream of income, which creates certainty. So, at the end of the day, you can't go wrong with always being ready, and you can't go wrong with the always doing more, right? Yes. For example, I had a day where I scheduled 5 podcasts, right? And it was a lot to just talk for hours on end. And
I
by the
bet.
end of it, it was worth it. By the end of it, I was like, wow, that was fun. I got a lot of cool things out of my mouth that, maybe will go in someone's ear and they'll learn something and they'll feel better or they'll have an idea to or be motivated. So I'm never like during like the 5 podcasts over and over again every single I was like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. But then it's like, you know what? I'm grateful that I was a part of that. I'm grateful that people are going to listen to me talk. I'm grateful that someone wanted to hear me talk. You know what I mean? So you have to think of the positive side of it and the gratitude part of it. Yes, it could be hard to nonstop do, or even 2-day workouts. I'm grateful I have the opportunity to go to the gym and train. I'm grateful I have a healthy body to be able to lift weights and be okay. So having a mindset like that will benefit you, I feel.
Well, and I talk about ripple effects, but it's really building blocks, right?
Yeah.
One podcast leads to another one, and then another one, and somebody listens to that one, and they invite you to come do another one, or there's another sponsorship opportunity, or a media, or an entertainment opportunity. If you're not getting up and getting out, you're not opening your mouth, opening your eyes, doing those things, nothing's going to come. But when you do, it starts as a trickle, but then it becomes a flow, and pretty soon it's a floodgate, right? And
Yep.
we're seeing that. We started with one product line. We now have 10 divisions, about
Wow.
40 different offerings, right? We're domestic and international. We're getting opportunities coming out of the woodwork from on the business side that never would have happened if we didn't start with the first product, right? And so
Yeah.
you have to step out into the dark and put yourself out there, and you will make mistakes. That's a really important reminder. We all fall on our face, but are we failing forward or are we giving up, right? So
Only
how did
sorry.
go?
Only time you lose when you quit.
I, I completely agree. It's like the only
You know,
dumb
you
question is the one you never ask, right?
yep, you can't quit. There's if you never know. I know people who were at the verge of giving up and they held on and then they made it the next week. So you never know. And it's like just have a positive mindset. Be grateful and try and think positive and try and think with the place of love and gratitude and you can't go wrong. And it will grow into other like again, like I said, I've gotten opportunities because of my personality, having a good heart,
Mhm.
having gratitude, make people want to help you, So if you move with gratitude and you move with intent of being a good person and helping others around you, you can't go wrong. And like I said, it's work. I've had times where people needed help and I help them and it's a lot of work to do. But at the end of the day, if you make someone's life easier and you're able to help somebody, you will never go wrong.
No, you'll never regret it, right? Uh, it's funny though. At the same time, there's a turning point that we made in our company, and I'm sure you could relate to this. We are up against our break. When we come back, let me share that turning point with you. We can talk about. I want to talk about your name, Power Punch. Where did that come from? And
Awesome.
let's talk about the movie you're doing and some of the other things. I mean, you were just on Nasdaq. That's a big deal, my friend. So let's go to break real quick. Don't go away. We're visiting with Vinny, Power Punch Pacifico. And I'm enjoying this conversation, Vinny. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Mike Zoric, a 3-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a 6-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and 2 fourths. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorick, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorick has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back to Finding Certainty. We're visiting with Vinny Power Punch Pacifico. He's a professional wrestler from Staten Island, New York. Thanks for being here with us, Vinny. Enjoying the conversation so far. You know, we've been talking about work ethic and talking about continuing to learn, keeping our eyes open, taking our blinders off. All these principles that lead to certainty in our careers and in our lives, and not just certainty, but explosion, right? Opportunities that start coming out of the woodwork, and that's exactly what you're seeing happen, and it's well deserved. I think there's another element that plays into it, though, and that is intensity, right? You are an example of that. Your energy level and your personality. I mean, you come across, for your fans and in your entertainment, your media, everything, you come across with this level of intensity that I think people really gravitate to. And I assume that's part of what led to your name, but tell us the story behind the Power Punch, your moniker, if you will.
Yeah, I am very intense. I don't know where that came from. Probably my father. You know, he's intense also. So pretty much a wrestler from WWE I mentored me for a very long time. EC3, former world champion, and I was wrestling, and I didn't have a character really. I just had, I was a wrestler, young kid wrestling. But a lot of people need a character. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin, you have with the beer, with the drink, you have Hulk Hogan with his character, you have Undertaker, his character. So you have to have characters that fans can relate to and fans can enjoy. So he's like, EC3 called me and said, "Hey, Vinny, you are Power Punch." I'm like, "What does that mean?" He goes, "Vinny, you are energetic, you drink energy drinks, and you are very positive. So you got to use that in your character, and your name's going to be Vinny Power Punch Pacifico." So that's how it started, and the first day I did it, the whole crowd was roaring Power Punch, and it stuck. It stuck, and it worked. And it's the brand, it became such a great brand and such a great it just steamrolled into a massive brand, and then now it's
Yeah, it's
just this.
the whole persona
Yeah,
now, isn't it, Vinny? I mean,
yeah.
I think it's part of what we're talking about. The work ethic is important, the branding, the learning, everything else, but you have to choose who you have to really decide who you are, who you want to be, where you want to go, and then you blend all of that into this intense vehicle that will get you there. And you're doing exactly that, man. And did you say that was Brian Danielson that gave you that name?
No, EC3.
Okay, okay, because you were part of the Ring of Honor dojo with Brian
Yes.
Danielson for a long time, right? I mean, he's a
He wasn't there when I was there. But he was there at one point. And yeah, I was part of the ROH dojo. I learned so much from them when it came to wrestling different styles, wrestling different heights, and like they. So I learned regular like grappling. I've learned Japanese style wrestling. I've learned luchador style wrestling. Uh, I've learned the British style of wrestling. So there's so many styles of professional wrestling that you could do, like World of Sport. And I've tried to learn almost every single style of pro wrestling there is to learn. So when I went to Japan, I was able to adapt. When I went to a lucha show, I was able to adapt. And I go to the UK, I'm able to do whatever they want me to do. So you have to be able to be very malleable, like water. So I learned every style that I could learn, and my style now that I have is very adaptable to wherever I need to be. So I wrestled in Finland. That was a very TV style of wrestling, which I am very good at. I wrestled in France. That was very uh, TV and a little bit of like uh, spotty and cool moves and flashy. So that was France. I was able to do that. England is very grapply and very submission and arm like joint manipulation based. So it's like chain wrestling. I was able to do that. I'm very good at that. I went to Canada. Canada is very similar to the American style of wrestling, so it's very TV style. Um, Japan is very hard hitting, very emotional, very intense. I'm very good at that. Uh, the one style I think I'm not the best at is lucha, because lucha is very rolling base and arm drags and just different types of wrestling, and I'm good at it, but that's my one of my like I'm not as good as I am with everything else as I am with lucha. So and there's so many styles of wrestling that you could learn. And so Ring of Honor was the best teaching me all those styles and every single type of hold, submission, uh, scenario, right? Like you have to be able to, like I said, be malleable. So I wrestled in outside on 140-degree weather with a black canvas, and it burned our back. So I had to be able to adapt and wrestle differently. So wrestling is a very, very hard industry and very hard sport. And once you are able to learn and be able to adapt to anything, you will become a more valuable professional wrestler.
Well, what a great experience! I mean, you got to work with Delirious and
Yes.
Cheeseburger, and I mean these guys. I mean Jonathan Gresham, right? These huge icons
Gresham,
that were
yeah, these guys are one of the
that were
best. John
phenomenal.
Gresham is hands down one of the best wrestlers in the industry. And these people have such good minds for wrestling and I'm so blessed to have learned from these amazing people. Cheeseburger, one of my best friends, Delirious is a mastermind of pro wrestling. Once you're able to adapt and create your style, people will learn your style and fans will either enjoy it or not enjoy it. That's where you have a fan base. So there's so much that goes into wrestling, and it's a really cool industry. It's a really different industry, and then you have to also be able to be good at the microphone. It's entertainment, right? So there's so much that goes into it. And also now when you take that and go to acting, you're able to do both because you have the experience from wrestling. You know,
Right.
Obviously you're not as much you aren't I wouldn't equate wrestling and acting to be the same. I wouldn't equate being a great wrestler and being a great actor. No. But you will learn how to act and you'll learn how to do these things through wrestling. And then transitioning to acting and doing acting as well, you'll be okay to be able to do both. So, I got the opportunity to film a TV show. It was a wrestling based TV show. It's called Mr. Reset, and
Hmm.
it's a TV series based off of pro wrestling and like the underground ticket society of what could happen in wrestling, and it's just a really really cool story. And I play myself, so it's very easy for me to play that because I play myself. I play
Yeah.
Power Punch. I'm not playing a horror villain. I'm not playing a race
Right.
car driver. I'm playing myself. So it's very easy for me to do that, which I'm very lucky to be able to showcase that my character in wrestling has different hooks. So that's kind of a really cool opportunity. And I'm so I love that. I love getting to film those two episodes, and I hope that very soon we sell it to a studio and we start filming more. I think there's so much opportunity there. I think there's so much to do, and I think that I fans are gonna love this once we have the real ball rolling. I think it's gonna be amazing.
Well, one of the secrets to certainty I've found is this massive activity, right? Just getting
Mhm.
out and getting after it and creating opportunity, not just waiting for it. The movie that you're going to be in that's coming out, The Frequency of Miracles, right? It's a
Yeah.
sequel to The Secret, right? All about the law
Hmm.
of attraction, about mindset, about quantum theory, etc. And I find it really interesting. I think it's really appropriate that you're a part of that movie. I know you're part of it with Tony Doty and Joe Dispenza and many of these others, but um, that is that movie itself is an example of what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
That
Big
whole
time.
movie is talk about the frequencies that we create in our lives that actually have a magnetic effect. They literally attract into our life more of what we focus on. That's why I never say my head is killing me. I don't want to end up with a brain tumor, right? And so, they I think it's kind of it's just a really appropriate cherry on top of what's already happening in your career that you're now involved in that movie because
Yeah.
it's such an example of what we're talking about, right? I have a question for you. As
Shoot.
you look back over your experiences wrestling all over the world, is there one that stands out as most memorable for you?
Oh my gosh, great question, Patrick. Country wise, you're saying? Do you think?
Yeah, could be a specific because it was a specific tournament, maybe a specific challenge, a specific country. What's the first one that comes to mind as one for the record books?
Wrestling in Japan is sacred. Wrestling in Japan is a huge milestone that it's not everyone gets to do that. So that was a huge one for me. And I was a world champion out there. I had a championship belt, defended it out there, and made it a world championship. So that was very very cool for me.
I bet.
When it comes to traveling, I'm gonna say I loved France and Finland very very much. The wrestling was awesome. The fans in Finland. I wrestled in the world famous Helsinki Metal Festival. So it was a major concert, and then it was when the band stopped playing, it turned around, and there was a wrestling show, and we kept going back and forth from wrestling to music.
That's
Thousands of
awesome.
fans on TV. It was awesome. And Finland's a beautiful country. Me and my wife went out there. It was such a beautiful place. So much greenery. So much good food. Absolutely beautiful country. But France, on the other hand, the tour was Finland, England, France, and wow, France is just everywhere you looked. I felt was just beautiful, kind of like Hawaii. Hawaii's like every left look, right look is just a beautiful scenery, but France was just the food was phenomenal. I love Paris. I loved South France where I wrestled. The wrestling talent were amazing. The fans were just erupting with love and passion for pro wrestling. So I would say Japan was very special to me, but France was just the
Incredible.
yeah, incredible. France,
It's an incredible
Netherlands is
country.
beautiful too. Germany, oh my gosh, the I love Germany too. Like it's so hard to really give you one answer because getting to do these amazing tours, like I wrestled on TV in Puerto Rico, and there's thousands of fans on watching from at home and at the stadium, and it's just crazy. It's just a really really awesome opportunity to be able to travel the world and do what I love most. So I will
Yeah,
tell you, yeah,
imagine.
y-
I love France. My wife and I just did a cruise from Miami to Barcelona over Valentine's, and then we took the
mhm,
train to Paris. And I got to do my birthday in Paris, right? Literally
I
on my
love it.
birthday, dinner, looking at the Eiffel Tower. Right, it was cool. And
You
it's
can't
funny
beat
because
that.
people say the French are so rude, and I didn't experience that. They were wonderful. They were great. The food was
Yes.
phenomenal. People were amazing. They love it when
Hmm.
you try to speak their language, right? And I'm fluent in Italian. I speak a little bit of French, so they love that, even if you slaughter it, right? And
I
so,
try very
okay,
hard. I loved
so
it.
we're. I know your battery is dying on your phone, and we're coming up toward the end of the show. I want to talk to you for a minute about being an artist, being an entertainer, and taking your branding and trying to build a career. There's a lot of athletes out there. There's a lot of musicians. There's a lot of uh, content creators, etc., that are
So
struggling
much.
to get ahead. They're struggling to. They need funding to be able to have studio time or hire musicians so they can put out that album that they know is in them, or
Yep.
they need funding to be able to travel to the next tournament. I mean, unless somebody else is paying for it, you're paying for it yourself to get out
Hmm.
and do these things. And so you and I have been talking about this new social media platform, VidMe, that is creating a way for artists and content creators and influencers like you to do exactly that. We've talked about it with you, with Tony, et cetera, et cetera. I would love to share just a little bit about that on this show because I know you're interested. I know we're working on that together. But I think
Hmm.
for anyone out there who's listening, any other wrestlers who are looking at Vinny saying, "I want to be Vinny. How do I get there?" This is one way you can do it.
Yep.
The platform is called VidMe, right? The community,
Hmm.
we refer to the community as social goats, right? The greatest of all time. But the platform
Hmm.
is VidMe. Here's a couple of facts real quick. There are just the big boys, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. They did over $300 billion last year, and they
Wow.
paid less than 10% of that to the artists and the athletes and the content creators like you, Vinny. I don't know if you knew that.
Yep. Hmm.
10%. Who's doing all the work though? Who's posting and doing reels and creating content? You are, right? The
Yep.
artists are,
Yep.
content creators are. VidMe was created to flip the script and pay the lion's share to the artists like yourself. Um, but there's another twist to it. And talk about thinking outside the box. VidMe is also going to be compensating the fans, your subscribers, for doing what they're already doing, for sharing content, for spreading the message, for introducing other people to Vinny Pacifico.
Hmm.
The
It's
fans are
amazing.
going to be compensated and what it does is it's creating this vested interest in your brand, right? Our favorite artists, we have a vested interest in helping them get as big as they can. The bigger they get, we both win because it's like we're shareholders in what you're doing. So,
I love
so
that.
that
Yeah.
I think it's such a great project. It's going live on June 1st. We're in beta. We've been talking about it, but
Hmm.
um, anyone out there who's listening who wants to advance their career, make sure you check it out. You can reach out to me at 888-684-3122 with questions, but check out VidMe. You go to certaintysocial.com and let me know if you heard about it on the show here. We'll make sure you get connected to Vinny and we can, and together, man, let's build your career further, Vinny. But
Of
anyone out
course.
there Whether you're just
I
starting
love
out
it.
with a brand new podcast or you're an influencer with millions of subscribers, we have major, significant names joining this platform, and
Amazing.
we've done the math. I mean, 1% of your followers, 1% of your subscriber base, if they come over and try VidMe out, it will literally 10 to 30x the income of that content creator. So,
Crazy.
well, we're about out of time here, Vinny. What's
I love
how's your
it.
battery looking? We down to 5-10%? Who cares,
8.
right?
Yeah, who cares?
Okay.
I love this. This is great. I'm excited. I'm loving this. Um, yeah, my phone dies very fast. I have to get a new phone. But I'm on here with you. I love you. You're amazing. When I met you, your personality was so infectious, and I was just so happy to be around you. There's not, and I'll tell you what. There's not a lot of people that I could meet and feel great being around, and you're one of them. So I love this. Your
I
social
appreciate
coach
that.
is gonna be amazing. And I think for any talent out there who wants to get to the next level, it's entrepreneurship. It's very, very hard to be able to, even as a singer, actor, wrestler, whatever you may be, it's very hard to do on your own. So I think as long as you're putting in the work, as long as you're meeting people, as long as you're asking questions and always willing to learn, I think there is a light at the end of the tunnel. A lot of fans ask me, "Hey Vinny, how did you do this? How did you get here? How did this happen?" They don't know that what they see is me now. They don't see the 11 years of hard work that I had to
Right.
struggle, that I had to, carry with me. And that's one of the most important things that I hope people learn is, you know, everyone started somewhere. It's okay to start at 14 like I did, or it's okay to start at 30. It's okay to start at 4. It doesn't, as long as you start somewhere. But you have to realize everyone had a starting point where they did not know how to start or how to do what they do. And now they're world class athletes. So never compare yourself to anybody else. And yeah, comparisons is the thief of joy. So just try and focus on you, love yourself enough to believe in yourself, and ask questions and try and get better and help others. That's kind of my mindset.
100%. To your point, you didn't get there on your own, right? You had
Nope.
amazing coaches and mentors and friends and
Hmm.
people kicking butt when you needed it. And some people, yeah, sometimes it's our naysayers that motivate us, right? Because we're going to prove them wrong, right? The people who say, "Now you'll never do it."
Hmm.
When
Yep.
you have a
I've been
you
there.
have
I had bullies. I had naysayers. I had it all, but I prevailed, and now
but when
I'm almost I'm almost where I want to be. So
That's right. When you have a tribe, right? If you don't have it now, go find it, right? They say you'll become the
yep.
sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But go if you don't have that in your life, go find it. Go get up and get out and open your ears and ask
Hmm.
questions, build those relationships. One of the best ways I've found is go give service, go to a charity and spend some time. A lot of
Yep.
charities are owned by celebrities. It's one way for you to start to build those types of relationships. And to Vinny's point earlier, you never know which introduction is going to open up that massive door, that career changing door. If you just don't give up, if you keep trying and you decide who you want to be and decide where you want to go and how you're going to get there, and then you just dig in, right? You just keep
Hmm.
going. What's just before we end here? We've got just a couple more minutes. Anything else you'd share with the listeners? Maybe what's a
Yeah.
lesson that you learned in your life?
Lesson that I learned is to I will say this again. I think don't compare yourself to other people. Don't compare yours A to someone else's Z. Don't compare. It's try and find the positive in everything you do. Give glory to God. Be happy. Be thankful. Doing things with a positive mindset will always benefit you rather than doing something negative mindset. And at the end of the day, if you're going to push forward and you're going to do your best, you do your best so that you have no regrets at the end of the day. That's what my mindset is like. There's no fail, but if I don't go where I want to go, at least I gave it my all, and you'll never have regret. And that's at the end of the day what's most important is just working hard, doing your best, and take care of the ones you love.
100%. Anybody who's interested in getting to know Vinny and following him, they can find him on Instagram. Do you have a website you'd want people to go to, or how can they connect?
Instagram at Vinny Pacifico, Twitter Vinny Pacifico 1, and Facebook Vinny Pacifico. That's my
All
best
right.
my best places.
If you would like to learn more about this new platform, social media platform, Vinny's going to be a part of it. Tony's a part of it. We've got a lot of big names coming on. We just had a meeting yesterday with a record producer with 20,000 labels. He's going to bring all of them to VidMe. What I love about this idea, guys, is that regardless of what you want to do, if we can remove the financial concern for artists, for athletes, for musicians, so that's taken care of. You've got millions of dollars residually coming in. Imagine what you could do with that. Imagine the art that would occur, the creativity that would take place. Imagine how many opportunities you could have and events you could go to, tournaments you could take part in, et cetera, et cetera. We do a daily show. I told you can check it out at certaintysocial.com, but we're doing a daily Zoom that's actually starting in 3 minutes. I do it every day at 12 o'clock, Monday to Saturday. Come check it out at https://vidme Zoom. That's VIDME Zoom.com. Vinny, you're always welcome to stop by. We love seeing you, man. I appreciate you being on the show, and I'm excited about what's happening for you, man. Congrats on the movies. Congrats on the wins.
Thank you. You too. We're all winning, baby. We're all winning, and we're gonna do amazing things. I'm telling you. And I already have people who I want to help bring on board, Social Goats. So we're gonna do amazing things together. Thank you for having me, and I hope to come on again soon.
100%. I'm glad your battery lasted. Thanks for being here, brother. And have a great rest of the week.
You too. Bless you, my friend.
So Vinny Power Punch Pacifico, guys. There's a lot of athletes out there. There's a lot of influencers. There's very few who have the energy level and the intensity that Vinny does. If you haven't watched him, follow him. Go to his Instagram. Check him out online. Watch him when he competes. It's incredible. He just exudes this energy and this passion for life that is infectious, right? It's contagious. As you do that, I think you're going to see an example of several of these principles we're talking about, of working hard, of continually learning, of expanding your brand and approaching it with intensity. That is the key to his success. But it's also the key. It's one of those secrets. These are some of those principles of creating certainty in our own lives. I always joke that we called the show Finding Certainty, but it's one thing to find it. It's another thing to develop it and to expand it. The monologues I do on the first Wednesday of each month, these guests that we continue to have on the show, they embody these principles. That's why I have them there, to remind you and give you examples and different approaches to developing more certainty in your lives. If you'll do that, you'll never regret it. And if you can remember to keep a little balance, remember God and family and paying it forward along the way, even when you're just starting, continuing to put it out there, not just make income, but make a difference, you won't have any regrets. I mean, we all make mistakes. We all fall short. We learn from our failures, but you won't have regrets. And you'll be able to look back and say, I lived a full life. I lived a life that was bursting, not just with intensity, but with certainty. Thanks for listening to the show today. We're here every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Please find us online, follow us, check us out at certaintylive.com. You can learn about our company at certaintyteam.com. Want to learn about VidMe, the new social media platform, where you share in the revenue, you share in the earnings. It's the billions of dollars that is paid to artists like Vinny every year. Go to certaintysocial.com. Appreciate you listening, and thank you for spending some time with me today. Have a great rest of the week. Certainty is out there. You can find it, and we can help. Take care of yourself. We'll see you next week. Until then, bye for now.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Finding Certainty. We hope you've gained some more insight into how to create more certainty in your own business or nonprofit. Join us next week for another taste of the Certainty Experience. Until then, we wish you greater certainty in all that you do.